Thank you. Please have a seat.
Yeah, thank you.
We don't pay for claps, right? So let's just give them for free, okay? Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
Thank you.
Great. How are you feeling? Good? No, you feel good.
No, much better now.
Perfect. See? Okay, so with Ricardo, we will call also Gonçalo Consiglieri, CEO of Visor AI. Gonçalo, please come on stage again. Let's go. Let's give him some energy. Yes. Welcome. Welcome, my friend. Also, Luís Batalha, founder and CPO of Ample Market. Please join us on stage. Come here. Let's go. And we were supposed to have Patricia Roque on stage. Unfortunately, Patricia is sick, and so we have the amazing Pedro Sacramento replacing in last notice. Thank you, Pedro, for being available. Please take it away. The stage is yours, my friends.
Thank you, Tomas. Hello, everyone. Good morning to all. Thank you for being here. We're having this first panel. Hopefully, it will be a good one. I'm going to try to extract some great stories of these guys and how Startup Portugal is helping us out, helping the ecosystem. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Ricardo, one of the partners at Shilling. Shilling is a community-led VC, which means really focus on the ecosystem, really trying to promote how the Portuguese ecosystem is shaping up over the last few years. We have been around for more than 12 years now, first as an angel club, now as a formal VC. Being a community-led VC means that the executive team is also partners, or is constituted by founders as well. And then we have a network of people that are founders from our founders advisors that are really helping us and helping the ecosystem to grow, to foster, and so on. As a fund, as a VC, we are very early stage focused, pre-seed seed, investing across Europe with a strong focus in Portugal, obviously. Sector agnostic and really willing to support our founders, support our community, and hopefully helping them to go to the next level. So let's move to the stars today. Maybe you can just quickly introduce yourselves. Gonçalo, please.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Gonçalo Consiglieri. I'm a co-founder and CEO at Visor AI. Visor AI is a customer service automation company. So we help those big contact centers that we all already called or send an email or send a chat to them, from banks, insurance companies, utilities, and many others. And it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Good morning. My name is Luís. I'm one of the founders of Ample Market. So we are a platform that helps sales teams find and then connect with their next customers. We are around 90 people all over the world. We serve around 1,000 B2B companies. Actually, I've met a couple of customers in this room today, so it's good. I'm also one of the founders of Formats Library. It's a platform to annotate academic papers, and we reach a few million people every month. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, and I'm Pedro Sacramento. I serve in Startup Portugal since 2017. I'm the head of projects and operations. I'm also in charge of the internationalization area of Startup Portugal, and so I'm just here to add a few comments to the conversation. But of course, you guys are the stars here.
So yeah, let's go back to the stars. Let's start with the basics. Like I've seen that you started more on the, let's say, more on a corporate journey, in your very early days, and then you moved to the entrepreneurial kind of journey. What were the main reasons why? What took us there, or why did you decide to leave the corporate world to go to the startup world?
Okay, so I can start. Well, I started working in a bank 16 years ago, and then I moved to the consulting side. So I used to work for KPMG. I used to work for Deloitte. Actually, my former boss is here today from Deloitte. I did this, let's say, typical path that you do when you have a management degree. So you start working in consulting firms, and if you are a hard worker and you do things well and you have good evaluations, things go well with you and tend to keep you up in the corporate ladder, and I was there, and I was able to being promoted and everything. But I always felt that was something missing, in terms of, let's say, personal fulfilling, because there's not other reason for starting something from scratch. Because if you have a degree, if you are inserted in a, let's say, developing economy like as Portugal, you always have opportunities, and it's quite, let's say, not that hard to have a good career and get your own money. But this is something that you have as a gut feeling that you need to do. When we started, my first company was not Visor AI. I mean, it was Jasby, which was a failed startup. So we are here to celebrate failures, as Tomas mentioned. So this was our first failure. At the time, when I left Deloitte, I started with my co-founders this first company, and we only had one idea. We had nothing else. But we just abandoned the, let's say, stable careers to start it. And what we realized is that we knew nothing. So while I was at Deloitte, I was, for example, with the projects with Jose here, I was helping to open banks in Angola, so opening new banks. So people there, entrepreneurs, Angolan entrepreneurs, opening banks. So I was there, like, managing the projects of making those banks to be there one day and to be a bank. And I thought, okay, if I can help to open a bank, maybe I can help to open a small business like a startup. And I was completely wrong, because to start a bank, you have like a roadmap. You have stuff, if you do it, and if you have enough money, and you cover all the steps and tick all the boxes, the bank will be there one day and you will have a bank. While if you have a startup or you are starting a startup, there's no roadmap, there's no checklist, there's no nothing. And what is true today will not be true tomorrow. And it's just, it changes a lot on your fundamentals, that you think like, okay, I was a good performer, I did it well, I just follow like all the steps, and why cannot do it for my own thing, which is simpler than opening a bank. And I think it was my first reality check after the first year of entrepreneur, like understanding that it doesn't make sense. So now I need to take a decision, or I just keep pushing for it that will never go to any place, and I already knew it from the bottom of my heart. Or I go back to my previous career, consulting, for example, and hopefully I had the opportunity to do that. Or I will start over again with these learnings. So that's what I did. So with my co-founders, we just may be able at the time to, okay, let's try one more year of doing something new. Let's forget about what we did, and let's start again. And hopefully things have been working well, and now we have Visor AI, which is thriving. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think the result is being good, but with a very high cost, let's say.
Yeah. And what about you, Luis? And especially with the angle of US, since you started your companies in US.
Exactly. So I actually I studied physics. So I didn't think I was ever gonna start a company. I thought I was gonna be a researcher. But then during college, I was working on side projects with one of my best friends in physics, like grad school, and also with my brother. And my brother was studying computer science in the US at MIT, and he was very much exposed to startups and the startup culture. So he was sharing all these stories about entrepreneurs, and then we started working on kind of side projects, ideas. And then I actually went to work for a private equity for a few months, but we kept working during the weekends, and some of these ideas were getting serious, so we decided to stop for a year. So I quit my job. My co-founder was doing a PhD, he also put it on hold. And then my brother, he put the master's on hold, and then we decided to come to Portugal, and we said, we're going to take a year, we're going to run through some of these ideas, and let's see where we go. Then we ended up going to the US. We got investment from a fund in the US called Y Combinator that invests in early stage startups, and that's when the journey kind of started. We started with a completely different idea than Ample Market. We started with a company that was selling software to online stores, and then we ran into the problem of scaling the sales team, and that's how we ended up pivoting to Ample Market. But yeah, it's basically.
And you talked about dropping out what you're doing. Do you think it's easier to be a dropout in the US or in Portugal, for instance?
I think in Portugal, the problem is like you don't have a lot of examples of people that actually dropped out and were able to achieve some sort of success. If you go to the best universities here, you go to Técnico, you go to FEUP and talk to the CS students there, like they don't look at Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, these famous people that dropped out and turned out to create these huge companies. They're not relatable, right? They're too far away from them. They need examples that were sitting where they were a few years ago in order to relate to them. So if you think about dropping out, your parents are going to say you're going to be crazy, and you don't have examples around you that kind of, validate you dropping out to start working on a company. I think that's one of the biggest differences. And now you start getting more examples in the Portuguese ecosystem, but I think that's one of the things that you can do that has the highest ROI, and that doesn't cost much money. It's like taking these examples and talking to students and showing them, Talkdesk, a few other examples, Visor.
Feel free to reach out to Luis to talk about dropping out.
I think that's super important.
And Pedro, being as a startup Portugal, being a more political player in the ecosystem, how do you see these differences, and how do you think your work has to come along to help reducing them and improving the ecosystem?
In this case, I think there are multiple ways of doing our job. In one hand, we've been in San Francisco trying to learn the best practices. Actually, we met with João and Mika, the co-founders of Luis, and we listened to them, and of course we met with other accelerators, VC funds, and a lot of local players to try to understand how we can better expose Portuguese startups to these funds, because of course it's a goal to keep them here with us and with their headquarters in Portugal, but it still okay if they go and secure good rounds of funding in the US, and then they keep their operations in Portugal, they keep employing and secure our talent in Portugal. That's also okay. So that's why a lot of companies are flipping and do this change of headquarters, but they are still a very important asset to our country. So we shouldn't feel bad about that. But at the same time, we should work together with our fellow associations across Europe. We should work in these ideas of the 28th regime and creating conditions to flatten these different regulatory systems in the EU, and try to create conditions to have in Europe at least the same conditions for startups to access to funding, and perhaps to try to also to change the mentality of some funds that can redirect the part of their investment to startups, and to be a little bit more without less fear to fail and also to risk together with the startups. And I think that is something that we also need to do. We all need to do it inside the European Union.
Picking up on that last sentence on the failure, and let's go into the more nitty-gritty details of being a founder. Can you share some stories of decisions you have made in the past that you thought, like, this is completely irrational, or it doesn't make any sense, but eventually after some time it turned out to be really very good decisions, but it was difficult to explain them, and then they come out to be very good?
Well, I think in our case, the fact that we started an AI team in an AI company in 2016 was kind of far-fetched thing, because was not that much companies in the world, and especially in Portugal. There were several, but not that much. And over time, now everything is AI. So we were there before it was cool. So I think it gave us some learnings, some things, some fundamentals that we know for a long time, and now market is realizing. But at the same time, with the introduction of LLMs, it changed and disrupted a lot of things. So we as a company, we had to take a lot of bold decisions, like completely abandon old stuff. Like, I always remember the case that we had one team member, one data scientist, that was for 1 year developing an algorithm to be able to generate sentences from one sentence. Like, okay, if you write something like, what time does the shop opens? And just press a button, and it generates like 10 different ways to ask this question, to pose this question. Like, what time can I go to the shop, or stuff like that. It was 1 year working on it. And then ChatGPT came out, and we just tried it. It's like, okay, generate 10 different ways to say it. And it was like automatic, and we tried, okay, please give me 100. And it was like, okay, next day we just talk to this guy and say, oh, guy, sorry, but look at this. Now there's a tool out there that does exactly what you were working for 1 year. That does exactly what you do. And I remember the face of this person in the beginning was like shocked, like, what? So I was working 1 year for nothing, and in my case, yeah, I was paying a salary for 1 year for nothing. So now we just need to move on and do something different. And this person in particular, like 2 weeks later, he resigned. Like, okay, I cannot live in this environment. Like, I was working on it, and it will never be there, and this development will never be released. I don't agree with this, so I need to go. Okay, we had to accept it because there was already a tool, an API that does it almost for free. So this was the kind of situation that we need to decide. Like, okay, what's better, to give the best result to the client, or to just use something that we have been developing, which is not the best because the market is evolving. And now this mindset, it needs to be very, let's say, fresh on our minds, which is everything will be disrupted sooner than we can imagine. And as soon as it is disrupted, let's accept it and embrace it. And it's, let's say, sometimes hard to understand or to accept it because you need to just abandon stuff that we have been doing, which is not easy to do, and in terms of your ego, it hurts.
And what about you, Luis? Like, have you experienced things like this? Like,
I was thinking about it. I think for us was when we moved to the US. So the three of us, we had our families here, our friends, our lives were here, and we went to the US. We didn't know if we were gonna be able to get visas. Like even the team, early employees, they were here. San Francisco is super expensive. We're not, we hadn't raised money, so it was coming out of our bank account. So it felt a little bit counterintuitive because also our customer base was global. So I remember talking to friends and they were always asking like, but why are you there? It's like you could be, you could be working from here. Like your customers are global. But in a way, like, for me, it was clear because I think my brother studied in the US. He went to MIT, and when he went there, like he got similar questions. People were like, okay, you can watch the classes online. Why are you going there? You're gonna pay $200K for a degree. But I think there's a lot of value in being there, being surrounded by the best companies in the world. And there's this law of like you are the average of the people, of the 5 people there you are surrounded by. I think that applies to companies as well. And we felt that, and it turned out to be really good for us. Like some of our investors are from the Bay Area. We have a lot of customers there. But at the time, it felt like we were, going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Quick question on this one. Like, if you could go back, would you do it all over again or not?
With the knowledge that I have today?
Yes.
No, completely different. All different. But I believe that
but still being a founder. So going again to the founder
sure,
journey.
Yeah, I would be a founder again. But if I was starting my journey that we took 8 years to be where we are now, knowing what I know now, I will take 2 years. 2 years, so 2 out of 8. So I will save 6 years of learnings and failures and doing stuff in one way that doesn't work out. Yeah, but the life is like this. So you learn as soon as you learn it. Now I know, but you cannot go back in time. The only thing you can do is do best for the future.
Would you do it all over again?
I think from a rational perspective, sometimes it's hard to justify being a founder because, especially when I talk to friends that are working at big tech companies and they are making a lot of money, working 9 to 5, not worrying too much. Like for me, it's quite the opposite. So it's hard to justify. I would do it again because I'm not sure. Maybe it's a bug that I have. It's in me. So, so I would do it again.
All right, Pedro. And what is Startup Portugal doing besides trying the public policy and so on? Like in terms of fostering the ecosystem, in terms of initiatives, in terms of events, in terms of.
Our job is to mitigate the risk of these guys. So I would say that besides being part of the task force that deliver non-refundable grants, I would highlight the programs that we do to foster the sense of community, starting by our monthly hangouts when we gather the community and we have all these experiences shared and all these risks of failure can be sometimes mitigated when from peer-to-peer learning can be something that we should encourage and of course we will be doing for the second consecutive year a conference where we will try to expose the Portuguese ecosystem to the different international players, investors, stakeholders that will take place in Porto. It's the SIM conference, startups and investors matching. So it's our job to create conditions for these guys to to have meaningful connections with their sources of investment, partnerships, clients, and talent. So I would say that that's the most important things that we can do. But at the same time, we have a program that is called Business Abroad, where we take startups to international tech conferences and try to also engage them with the local partners and local stakeholders. Visor AI will be with us in 4 years from now, in I think 2 weeks, in 2 weeks' time. They have been with us back in the days in South Summit, in a pitch competition that we also organized there. So I believe that helping startups to in this, like reducing their risks and their costs, reaching new markets that they have in mind for their expansion endeavors, I think it's also a good part of our job.
All right, thank you, Pedro. And talking about investors, do you recommend VC investors? Do you think they are really on your side, helping you out with genuine willingness to help you succeed, or do you think they're only after the money or the returns? And how can actually you can extract value from them? What is your experience with investors?
Well, in our case, we have about 5 or 6 different investors, and I would say all of them are different because we have the first ones, they were business angels, which is, I don't know if you are aware about these terminologies, but are like people with money that invest. In this case, it was funds of business angels, so a fund of money, private money from, let's say, normal people. In the beginning, we thought that we would have a lot of like advices and knowledge. Those people, they have money, they already did their thing, so they know how to advise us, and we were completely wrong because usually these people, they are, let's say, corporate jobs, as I had before, and they made their money out of like doing, like, let's say, inserted in a structure which is already organized. And when you start a company, everything is different, as I mentioned. So we realized that this kind of advices sometimes, they had good intention, but they were not quite accurate because the most part of them they wasn't in our feet. And actually, it's something that I was talking to Luis before, which is in Portugal. Today there's not that much, but in 2016 was way less examples of entrepreneurs that already have exited, sold the companies, and just came back to the ecosystem to just invest and be business angels. This is very valuable. 2016, there was not that of that in the market, so the business angels were like, let's say, corporate people. So coming back in time, if I knew what I know, I would not take their money. They are good people and everything, and it was good because I needed the money at the time, but I would prefer not to. More recently, that we have raised VC money. We are in a more, let's say, organized structure where VCs, they have, let's say, a more business approach, and they are professional people. And I believe in that case, I would advise if you want to grow like out of a normal thing. Because if you are looking for a business like to, I don't know, to have a valuation of 20, 30, 40, even 50 million, don't go to VC, because usually they tend to just push you to be for more than 100, which is very hard, especially if you are based in Portugal and doing things from Portugal as we are. Luis for sure has a different idea because he's in the Champions League. I'm playing in the Taça de Liga, so it's a different thing. Okay, yeah. But I'll move to Luis now.
I think, and like if you're building a business that requires massive capital up front, if you're building rockets or building a nuclear fusion reactor, I think you need investors from day zero. But actually, I think if you're not building those types of businesses, I think you should delay raising money as much as possible. So if you can bootstrap or you can fund your operations with early customers paying you, I think that's super useful because that can validate that your product has product market fit, gives you a lot of freedom, and then only raise when you need it. I think having investors is super useful because sometimes having these outside voices can be painful, but they are also a good forcing function for you to look into problems that matter. So in our case, for instance, we have a board, we have board meetings, and this sometimes feels like exams in school where without exams, people wouldn't study. So these are good moments for you to really talk about the things that sometimes you don't want to talk about. So these are great forcing functions, and I love our.
Is it normal, like closing a round, start spending money as crazy, hiring people as crazy, and then after some time you realize maybe it was not the best decision? Does it happen? Is it true?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it was another thing I was talking to Luis before, which was before we raised last year. We raised 2.3 million euros as a funding round, and I remember before that I had a conversation with a founder, a very well-known founder in Portugal, someone that is already way ahead of me. And I was asking for some advice and stuff, and he was saying some common mistakes that I will make for sure. And I was like, okay, now I know what you said to me, so I'll not do it for sure. And I did it all. I just did all the mistakes, and then I came back to him and talk again. And I mentioned, oh, look what I did. I just hired this person. I fired this person. And he said, yeah, that's what I advised to you, which is normal, so good. One less learning to learn, so keep pushing forward. And this mindset of like, accepting the failure is very important, and in our case, we decided to, we were, let's say, a very founder-oriented company, so we were 3 founders, and we just, all the operations and everything were combined, we were, let's say, in these 3 founders, so all the teams reported to the 3 founders. As soon as we got the money, we started to hire directors and leads and people in the middle, just for us to be able to delegate, but we realized that it's a different thing, and we really need to be already in a more mature position to do that, because we were not already in, let's say, a pure growth mindset and a pure growth environment. And the people we hired people from Talkdesk, from Google, from Farfetch, all those big names. And we realized that we were not aligned, because they were already joined those companies when they already were big. So they needed to act as big from day one, and they are now joining a company which is small, so they need to just roll the sleeves and just let's dig into it and just have this more founder approach thing, which is not a thing because it's not their profile. So
I think we are already out of time, so quick, Luis, I think I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
On this question?
On this question, on the US angle, because I think it's even
more
aggressive, I guess.
I think with the expansion is interesting, because I really believe that startups are, kind of a living organism, and you don't want kind of unnecessary cells in the organism. So I really believe in, hiring when you need small, efficient teams. They always beat these larger, slower teams, and you should, expansion should follow demand, not precede it. So you should only hire when you need it, because people problems are a different category, and yeah, it's hard to manage.
One word as advice. One word for every single one of you.
Just paraphrasing Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, I kind of wish you ample doses of pain and suffering, because you will need that to build resilience to succeed as a startup. I think that's the...
Pedro and Gonçalo.
Okay, from our side, apply to our business abroad program and come with us to the International Tech Conference.
Gonçalo,
I would say resilience, but he's already mentioned, so I would say adapt.
All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay.